So, my hair is a complete mess. Sorry if it comes across as such. I kinda need a bit of a haircut, I think. Hi, I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome to another episode of First Impressions. On today's episode, everybody's favourite marmalade-loving bear is back for another adventure in Paddington 2. The plot is that Paddington, voiced once again by Ben Whishaw, has settled in quite nicely with the Brown family in London, and he's looking to buy a rare pop-up book for his beloved Aunt Lucy, voiced by Imelda Staunton, for her 100th birthday. However, the book is stolen and he is framed for the crime and sent to prison, where he attempts to escape in order to prove his innocence, all while the Brown family attempt to figure out who the true culprit is. So I have to admit, I'm not overly familiar with Paddington. I know he exists, I know he's quite popular, but was never really all that interested in him. And I kinda skipped out on the first movie back when it came out, but apparently it was a bit of an unexpected treat, so it's my loss, I suppose. And now that I'm trying my best to see as many new releases in the cinema as possible, and considering the good buzz surrounding the sequel, I decided to check out Paddington 2. But having just seen it, I gotta say, I'm really sorry for missing out on the first movie, because Paddington 2 is a real treat. It's easily one of the most enjoyable cinema-going experiences I've had all year. It's the kind of film that really brings out the inner child in me. I know it's the kind of film that my 10-year-old self would have really enjoyed. There's a lot of charm, imagination and adventure in the directing, writing and storytelling, but also a lot of great humour, great slapstick, visual humour and background humour that make it probably one of the funniest movies I've seen in quite some time. And a lot of that comes down to the writing and directing. Paul King, who co-wrote and directed the first movie, returns for the sequel and he really brings a lot of flair and energy to the material. He gives the movie a very adventurous and innocent tone that's brimming with adventure and wonder. The movie almost reminds me of a Wes Anderson movie with its visual style, use of vibrant colours, and the way that the shots are framed and composed. And considering I'm a sucker for great visuals and set design, this movie made for some dazzling eye candy. But what I really love about this film is its characters. Like I said, I'm not overly familiar with the character of Paddington, but having just seen this film, I gotta say that he really melted my heart. I really fell in love with the character. He's just so good-natured and likeable, but also a little bit clumsy and a little too naive at the same time. And you would think that would make for a very bland and boring character, but his kindness is actually more endearing than anything. And Ben Whishaw is terrific in the voice of Paddington. He just does the role so much justice and really brings a lot of charm and personality to the character. And what I like about the character of Paddington, and I suppose that's his appeal as well, is that he brings out the best in people. We see that in the opening scene of this film whenever he's interacting with the neighbours and the Brown family. He basically is everybody's best friend in a way. And the prison setting is an interesting one for this film, especially since it sees Paddington up against these seemingly very ruthless and very rough prisoners that he has to try and work his charms on. It's very unexpected for a Paddington movie, but I think it works very well. I already talked about how this movie borrows a little bit from Wes Anderson's playbook, and that's especially felt in the prison scenes, which definitely bring to mind something like the Grand Budapest Hotel. In fact, I'm pretty sure there are a couple of shots in some that are meant to be homages to that film. And before I move on to the rest of the characters, I do want to talk briefly about the visual effects work in this film, because it is absolutely incredible. Paddington looks amazing. The CGI animators really deserve an Oscar for their work here, although I seriously doubt they'll even be nominated. Maybe they'll get a BAFTA, but they really do deserve appreciation for their work, because Paddington looks incredible, especially in scenes where he interacts with objects or his environment, like in scenes where he interacts with toothbrushes or buckets. It all looks so seamless. And it really complements the slapstick antics of Paddington throughout the movie too. It almost rivals the visual effects work seen in the new Planet of the Apes movies. It's that incredible. And while Paddington himself is a great character, he's also complemented highly by the supporting cast, who are all playing very colourful and very eccentric characters. Hugh Bonneville and Sally Hawkins reprise their roles from the first movie as Henry and Mary Brown. They both do a very solid job. Bonneville especially stands out playing the family patriarch, who's very straight-laced and takes things at face value. And he also has some surprisingly good comedic timing in this film. However, he's kind of pushed to the background a lot of the time, but whereas Bonneville sort of spends much of the movie on the sidelines, Hawkins really takes the spotlight in this sequel, as she leads the family's attempts to prove Paddington's innocence. She's very much the polar opposite of her husband. She's got a very wild imagination, she's quite eccentric, and she probably has the most in common with Paddington. And Hawkins does an excellent job in the part. I think she's a great actress, and she's phenomenal in this film. Julie Walters is also solid in the role of Mrs. Bird, the housekeeper, who does have some pretty entertaining scenes in the film. And there's also some very entertaining cameo appearances from the likes of Richard Ayoade, who shows up briefly, and especially especially Joanna Lumley, who has a very brief scene in the film, but she really makes a strong impression. However, I do feel like there's a slight feeling that the writers don't really know what to do with certain returning characters from the first movie. I already mentioned Hugh Bonneville, and Jim Broadbent's also kind of underutilised too. But Peter Capaldi, who plays the grouchy Mr. Curry, really bears the brunt of this. He shows up once or twice to say that he doesn't like Paddington and then celebrates whenever he's arrested. And he's not given much to do outside of that. Don't get me wrong, he's a joy to watch, especially considering he's appointed himself head of the neighbourhood watch. But it does feel like the movie doesn't really know how to utilise him, and he's largely in the background for much of the movie. But aside from the slight underutilisation of certain characters in the movie, the characters as a whole are great, especially the new ones in this sequel. Brendan Gleeson is absolutely fantastic in the role of Knuckles McGinty, this short-tempered prison cook who forms a rather unlikely friendship with Paddington while he's in prison. There's a very entertaining dynamic between them, especially because Gleeson's this highly feared and rather volatile hard man with a short temper, and he's very much the polar opposite of Paddington. And Gleeson really pulls it off. He's one of my favourite actors in general. Even whenever a movie is subpar or not particularly great, he's usually very good in it. And this movie is no exception. He's easily one of the movie's main standouts. But even the might of Brendan Gleeson, it's still no match for Hugh Grant, who is, bar none, the best thing about this movie. He is absolutely fantastic. He plays the role of Phoenix Buchanan, who's this very smarmy, vain, pompous, and overly narcissistic actor. But he's also washed up and he's been reduced to starring in dog food commercials. He's kind of like Balthazar Brat from Despicable Me 3, except somehow even more batshit insane and a lot more entertaining. There's a lot of really great scenes and some really funny lines from him, especially whenever it involves him and his multiple personas. Grant just absolutely runs away with the film, and it's probably one of the best performances I've seen from him. So yeah, I loved Paddington 2. I really enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a very delightfully funny, delightfully entertaining film that will really appeal to both kids and adults alike. The directing is whimsical and wondrous, and the film looks absolutely amazing on a technical level. Beautiful cinematography, gorgeous production design. It's one of the best looking films I've seen this year, considering this year's brought us some really stunning looking movies. That is saying something. And the performances are overall terrific, especially coming from Ben Whishaw in the title role. But it's Gleeson and Grant that really run away with the film. It's great to see films aimed at younger audiences that anyone of any age can enjoy. And that was definitely the case with me. I really enjoyed watching this film. So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being absolute irredeemable shit, and 10 being an absolutely flawless masterpiece, I'm gonna give Paddington 2 an 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend seeing it, especially over the Christmas holidays. If you have a kid and you want to take them to see something, go check it out. And even if you're not a kid, if you're just a big kid at heart like me, give it a watch. It's a real treat. So Paddington 2, have you seen it yet? If so, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with reviews for Battle of the Sexes, The Disaster Artist, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. But in the meantime, feel free to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. If there's anything I can do to improve my presentation, let me know. I can also be found via Facebook, Twitter, email, and Instagram. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.